Hey, welcome in. Well, I've done quite a few videos on Bill Maher, and the reason is I just think he's a fascinating study in an old school traditional liberal who just cannot seem to come to grips with the fact that he's surrounded by illiberal people, that the voice of the left now is no longer liberal. It's authoritarian leftism. Now, he knows there's something wrong, and he's been criticizing it, but he just can't quite come to grips with the fact that the people on the far left are not misguided liberals. They're not liberal at all. They're illiberal. They're woke lunatics. In fact, they hate the liberal ideas that he says that he stands for. Anyway, here's the headline. Bill Maher on crowd's hunger for mocking wokeness. For the first time, I am playing to a mixed audience. Maher dings Democrats for leadership since Trump left office. Quote, I would have liked a little more competence. Well, you were there during the election. You were there. Maybe you could have guessed. I mean, I'm sure there were some clues there you could have picked up on from watching Biden. But the problem with Maher is that he is like a first-class Trump derangement syndrome guy, and that's never going to go away. When it comes to Trump and the Trump administration, and Maher is in a delusional fantasy land. But anyway, it says here, HBO Real-Time host Bill Maher discussed the surprisingly increased broadness of his stand-up audience on Tuesday, saying there was a hunger among traditional liberals to hear the woke, crazy section on the left get taken to task. And Maher has been making fun of wokeness. He has been. But yet he still seems incapable of really understanding the core of what the left has become now. But anyway, he said, for the first time in my life, I am playing to a mixed audience. This was on the Joe Scarborough podcast. He said, I am playing to a mixed audience. And he's talking about his stand-up gigs there. I was in Nashville about a month ago, and the audience was about 60-40 liberal to conservative. That never used to happen. Never. And I think it's because 10 years ago, in my opinion anyway, the left did not have a crazy section. Well, that's not true. They just had a lot less power. But anyway, there was no such thing as woke. No, woke was there. It just wasn't being taken as seriously at the time. Anyway, he continues, and now they do have a crazy section, which I call out as a liberal. I think I'm kind of the only one doing that, so there's a hunger to hear that. Well, he thinks that, but the real truth is that any liberal, any like traditional liberal, old school liberal that has called it out has been immediately tarred now as far right or whatever. And there have been a lot of old school liberals like, say, Dave Rubin, who have just changed sides, who've just gone, this is crazy. I can't do this anymore. These people aren't liberals. That's the problem. They're illiberal. But anyway, let's see. Maher noted to Scarborough that even during a recent San Francisco visit, his bit about the craziness on the left drew laughter. I'm surprised it didn't draw Molotov cocktails, to be honest. And we are talking San Francisco here. Anyway, he continued, I think traditional liberals have had it with the far left of their own party. And they enjoy this too. To be able to play to a crowd like I did in Nashville, that's almost split even, that just never happened before. The audience was almost entirely liberal, but things have changed. And here where he says, I think traditional liberals have had it with the far left of their own party. Yeah, that is starting to happen, but they need to recognize it's not your party. The far leftists are not like you. They are something completely different. In fact, they hate you. They are authoritarians. They don't care about free speech like you do. They don't care about any kind of freedom, economic or medical or otherwise. They are authoritarians who want a one-party state that forces the populace to do everything that they want. And for some bizarre reason, they can't see the downside in this. But anyway, recalling the 1990s when as a conservative Republican congressman, he appeared on Maher's show, Scarborough called the politically diverse audiences for Maher a sign of hope. Maher said he enjoyed seeing the crowd laughing together. And here's the thing, moderates of either side can get along. That's not a problem. And they used to much more, actually, until you had this group of lunatics who have really gained an incredible amount of power very quickly, who call everybody one step to the right of Joseph Stalin a fascist, and work every single day to smear and demonize and dehumanize anybody who disagrees with them on anything. That's a problem. But just normal people, whether they lean right or left, can get along just fine. It's not a problem. Or they should be able to. And that's where the demonizing comes in, right? Because don't forget, the far left hates Bill Maher. They think he's one of the bad guys from Germany. Not that that would make any sense, but nothing that they say makes sense. Anyway, as an example of the kind of woke thinking that he thinks is harmful, Maher reiterated his opposition to having a separate black national anthem in addition to the Star-Spangled Banner. He also noted such practices as segregated dorms and graduations in the name of progressivism, such as at Columbia University this year. Quote, "This is what I mean. You become so woke, you come back out the racist side." Well, if only somebody had been mentioning this for a long time now, which is especially inappropriate in a nation that professes diversity as our strength. This is just going backwards. And what does Maher think of the Democrats these days? He called on them to bring the left flank of the party to heel, pointing to the standoff between the moderate and progressive wings of the party over Biden's $3.5 trillion Build Back Better plan. Here's the thing, too. You don't even call them progressives. Just call them authoritarian socialists. Or you can call them authoritarian left. You just have to make sure you've got authoritarian in there, because that's what they are. But just to end this off, this last part shows why it's so difficult for actual liberals to really get a grip on their own party. Because as much as they dislike the lunacy and authoritarianism coming from the left, the far left, they're still more deranged about Trump and conservatives at the end of the day. I mean, he says this here, quote, "The whole point of getting rid of Trump, for a lot of people, he was just loathsome as both a leader and a human. It was just a shit show all the time." And why was it a shit show? I don't know. Maybe it had something to do with 95% negative media coverage all the time. Almost no media coverage of things like, 4 peace deals in the Middle East. I think that got considerably less airtime than how many scoops of ice cream he had. Or whether he had a larger salt shaker than everybody else at the table. You know, really important stuff like that. But anyway, he continues, "Their message, a lot of it was, I'm not Trump. But the pullout of Afghanistan looked exactly how Trump would have done it. It was a mess. Would it have looked exactly like that had Trump done it? I mean, I suppose it's possible, but it really just feels like something you're saying to make yourself feel better, Bill Maher." Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Please subscribe, like, and share. That really helps me out. If you just like to listen to the audio version, there's a podcast. It's on pretty much every platform. If you look for it, you will find it. Thank you very much. I'll see you next time.